You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them. Do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedoghouseokc.com and follow them on Instagram at thedoghouseokc. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. This episode is brought to you by the Oklahoma State Treasurer Unclaimed Property Division. Oklahoma has more than $1 billion of unclaimed property. Reclaim what's rightfully yours. Visit YourMoney.ok.gov and enter your name to find out if you have lost money from utility deposits, uncashed checks, life insurance policies, or more. If you've got a minute, search for free and visit YourMoney.ok.gov.
Dust the red dirt off your boots and get all your rowdy friends together. Born and Raised Music Festival is back for one hell of a weekend. September 13th through 15th, 2024 in Pryor, Oklahoma. Featuring Cody Johnson,
You got a chance, take
Hank Williams Jr.,
all my rowdy friends are coming over tonight.
Cole Wetzel, plus Midland, Dwight Yoakam, the Red Clay Strays, and many more. Weekend, single day, and camping passes on sale now at bornandraisedfestival.com.
You know, we can spend $1 million on advertising, but you know, why don't we invite media, social media people out here?
Right, exactly.
And
especially they've not had it.
We've had huge luck with that, and and they do the cheese pull and the steam coming out of the pizza, and people are like, wow, we're gonna try that.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, that's on. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice that you did hear maybe depends. Well, yeah, the voice that you're hearing. That is my guest today, Mr. Bob Protexter, who has the Pizza Shack, which we're sat right now on Route 66 in Arcadia. Also, most people will probably know the Chicken Shack, which was open obviously before this place. We're in a pretty historic spot right here, and I can't wait to dive into the story. Obviously, the centennial of Route 66 is coming up in 2026, so huge draw to the state because we have the longest drivable route of Route 66. People listening didn't know that. You do now. But yeah, Bob, thanks for having me out. Excited to taste some pizza later. Heard a lot about it, and we'll dive into the specific style of the pizza in a little bit. But I want to hear about you. What's your story, man? What brings you to Arcadia? I mean, have you always been born and raised here?
What brings me to Arcadia? So I grew up in Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay.
And played football and baseball with the Chicken Shack owner, Eddie Gokenauer.
Okay.
We've known each other since junior high. We came from competing grade schools, so everybody's trying to figure out who and Eddie was kind of a leader in a group, and eventually we went on to, what is that? 6 years later, we won a state championship in football.
Okay.
So Eddie's never not a linebacker. So he texted me last April and he said pizza. I'm like, Eddie, you got pizza? You want pizza? He's like, I want pizza. And that's it. I mean, within the next 30 minutes, I said I'm interested, and he saved me from my apologies to all the school teachers out there. He saved me from my 7th year of substitute teaching. Yeah. So as the kids ask you, are you a real teacher or are you just a substitute teacher? And I'm just a substitute teacher. So my degree in political science and history kind of qualified me for grad school, and I didn't go. Yeah. And I've been involved with baseball a lot of years, but back to this story, I was substitute teaching for 6 years, and contacted me in April. I was like, heading into the summer, this is one of the 2 times a year I could, look at doing this. Yeah. And I got out of school on a Friday, got in my truck on a Saturday. I stayed over in Wichita and made it here on Sunday. Just in time for the Savannah Bananas. I helped to arrange that, and Eddie, he's a big-hearted guy, generous. He fed 110 Savannah Bananas and crew.
I did see that.
Because people took care of us when we grew up. And until you're in the food industry or until you're maybe 35, you figure out like, wow, everything's not necessarily free. Somebody else paid for it. And so in the realm of sports, people took care of our football team that we played on, and we played on an all-star baseball team together when we were younger, and like parents, you don't realize everything comes from somewhere. So I was like, so now I was in a position to ask him. I had some friends that played for the Bananas and coached there, and he's in a position to take care of somebody else. And I asked him, and he said yes. Wow. And they had 110 of the traveling crew, 255 passenger buses, and fed their whole crew. And it was an amazing ordeal, but more amazing to them, they almost to a T labeled this as their favorite day off spot of the summer. Because they got to relax. Yeah. They weren't in a hotel, they weren't at the ballpark, they weren't in a restaurant. This was a restaurant. This is more of a backyard extravaganza restaurant. You feel like you're at home. You're sitting on picnic tables out back, and people love the atmosphere. And then they had live music, so they were dancing and they were playing football with kids. And back the backyard of the chicken shack has football and volleyball and wiffle ball, and so they all found their own corner of the backyard. Some hung out by a fire pit, and but they traveled from Oklahoma City to Tulsa, and they stopped here on the way. Wow. So I went to, and Eddie and I and probably about 10 people went to the game in Tulsa then the next day. And I literally took a day off before I started here, because I knew once I start here, you're probably, the days off are few and far between and pretty limited. So when you run a restaurant, it's where's that spoon and where are the rags, and I got to do this, and it's a big undertaking. I knew, so I took a day off before I started. Yeah. And I started on Wednesday, May 31st, and we 0 to 60, and we opened on July 1st of 2022. Okay. Which matched the anniversary of the Chicken Shack's new location here in Arcadia. They were in Luther since 2016, and he was looking for a bigger plot of land, because he had the demand of more people. So, the Chicken Shack, there's close to, if not, if I lose track of probably 200 tables. Wow. You multiply that by 2 or 4 or 6, and that's how many people, they serve at one time. Yeah. And I was fascinated by it, but I worked at Eddie knew that I worked at Jerry's Pizza. That's an establishment in Sioux City, Iowa. They opened in 1959. They had a shoebox for money, a card table, and a rolling pin, and they've been killing it ever since. And I worked there on and off for 34 years, from 1984 to 2018, and it was a luxury. I traveled with baseball quite a bit. I've been involved with baseball. Like I said, we played on an all-star baseball team together when we were like 13. And my path as a skinny second baseman on our football roster was, so I cheered him on a lot and played in the fourth quarter. But Eddie was the star linebacker. So I don't know how much of a star I was on the baseball team, but I that was my that was what I liked. Yeah. So baseball is your love. I've been involved with, I grew up in a dugout. My dad was a college coach, and so we passed through Oklahoma quite a bit. We'd travel from Iowa. We're from Iowa, and he was a college coach at Morningside College. His name was Don, and we would travel to Texas quite a bit, and Oklahoma, and played ORU. So I'd been through here quite a bit, just in passing, a day or a week or something, and it was always interesting, So between baseball and pizza, I would travel, and I was fortunate enough to be able to travel the world through baseball.
Wow.
I lived in Russia on and off for 8 years, and been heavily involved with baseball in Russia and international baseball. So what it comes back to is, when you're coming home for the winter, after the season's done, within 2 or 3 days, I usually had a full schedule at Jerry's Pizza in Sioux City. The demand in the winter is more for the delivery drivers, and then in the spring I needed to leave, and they were okay with taking me off the schedule, and I did that quite a few years. I coached in college, in Morningside College, for 8 years, and always had the Division II assistant coaches generally don't live in mansions, as I tell people. So I'd coach and I'd deliver pizza. And so Terry Foister and Diane Foister are the owners. Jerry passed away in, I think, 1989, 90, or 91, and just started it.
Yeah.
And they continued to kill it. They have a nice life. It's not easy though. It's they're never not there. Even when they're not there, they're never not there. It's always a phone call in, and Eddie lives that life where even if he's not here, he's here. Somehow he's arranging for the next group of people to come in. And I mean, it's not uncommon for the Chicken Shack to have 5 parties of 30, 40, 50 people on one day.
Wow.
That's not including the walk-ins.
Yeah.
That's not including a group of 10 that shows up.
That's the ones about coming.
Yeah. It's not including a family in an RV that have 10 people that just show up randomly. So it's a lot of coordination and a lot of effort. And Eddie doesn't call himself, I call him the director of fun. He's like, let's do this, or let's do this. They want to do Balloon Fest. They have biker night outings, and to try everything. You got to throw a lot of spaghetti on the wall to figure out what sticks, and it's a daily process. What do you think about this? Hey, we got this group. We're going to bring this this group in. And he started with 2 Broasters and Tap Beer in Luther in 2016.
Wow.
Now he has the largest landmass restaurant in Oklahoma.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So he wanted the pizza to be part of it. It's a second option from the kitchen. So in football terms, the Chicken Shack is on the left end zone, and the Pizza Shack is on the right end zone. They have 200 tables. We seat 20. So it's a little different dichotomy of that. But he knew I worked there, and he wanted to give it a shot. And he had bought pizza ovens 4 years ago. We have a Subway making table, and we pieced together a great foundation before I got here. And then when I did get here, it was all menu development and hiring and finding that spoon that you can't find, and getting tinfoil and trying stuff and sampling pizza. We would have people come out and sample pizza, and some of it I knew was going to be bad. I told them it was going to be bad, but it was free. And I was like, hey, we would have tasting parties. Yeah. And then we opened on July 1st, 2022, and 2023 they moved here and opened here. July 1st of 2022.
Okay.
So more shacks in development. It's called Shack Enterprises. They have the Lumber Shack in Hera.
Okay.
They have the Chicken Shack, obviously, here in Arcadia. Lots of rumors involving the old Chicken Shack that it will revive itself as some kind of shack. Uh-huh. So that's the idea part. Yeah. And Eddie's got a lot of ideas, and the fulfillment of ideas is very gratifying. It's not easy. Yeah. So now they have the Pizza Shack. In Mulhall, they have a new place called the Chicken Shack. It's it was called Lucille's before, and they went in there and more shacks in the process. As far as I understand, cool.
Yeah. What? So you were in Iowa until a few years ago.
So
traveling, obviously, with Russia and coaching and all that stuff.
I had. Other than most of my life in Iowa, I lived in Texas, I lived in Colorado, I lived in Phoenix, Texas and Arizona involving baseball, and then I lived 8 of the last, since 1990, 8 years since 1990, I lived for the most part in Russia, traveling back and forth.
Yeah.
So the last time I was there was in 2019.
Okay.
And then the goal was for the Russian national team to qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And with that being the goal, our hurdle was Israel, which had a lot of former minor league baseball players. Your path as an Olympic athlete is determined by your country's laws on who can be a citizen and how fast that process is. So, in the Jewish faith, if your mother is Jewish, and that can be tracked back to your homeland, then you have the ability to procure a passport. And so our path was we had to beat them once, if not twice, in Bulgaria in 2019 in July, and they beat us on Thursday in a game we should have won. They beat us on Saturday in a game that we should have won, and I don't like to talk about it because those should-haves are hard in life, but I guess you can't stay in that spot forever.
Right.
So they actually went on to qualify for the Olympics through Europe.
Okay.
That was our goal.
Yeah.
So that's everybody's goal, is to win in the end in sports. In business, winning is quite different. It's not like you finish the day and it's like, wow, we won today.
Yeah.
You can think that, but today business is like baseball. It's like every day. It's like 162 games every in Major League season. Yeah. Business, is 365 days. Even when you're closed, there's something going on.
Yeah.
So to quantify winning in business, I think we've had more and more people come in. We have new customers every day, which is good. But so 2019 and then 2020 had some plans for travel, and the COVID monster canceled my life plans, and ended up in a place called the Iowa Great Lakes, which is also loved by Eddie. He had his original chicken shack was in the Iowa Great Lakes, which was a kind of a door you flew open and hooked it.
Oh wow, yeah.
That's where he started at, and did that 2 different times up there. And in and amongst that, with all my travels, there was an appeal for Soviet and Russian items, so I had a Russian gift shop in Okoboji. Wow. So our paths would cross in different ways like that.
Yeah. How do you even get, what leads you to have a conversation with someone that says, hey, we need baseball coaching in Russia, and how do you get that job?
They didn't seek me out.
Okay.
I looked for it.
Okay. Wow.
I was 21, 1988.
Yeah.
And I liked international relations. I lived in Texas, South Texas, 20 miles from the border in Edinburgh, Texas. I was fascinated by, there's a line in the sand, right? On the other side, the people look different, they speak different, their food's a little different, and their laws are different. It's a different country, and on our side, the population is about 80% Mexican American in South Texas, but it was just fascinating how one line can separate different cultures. And there's a lot of mix of the cultures, right? But still, it's a different place. And it just, I think that stuck with me for the longest time. I was interested in baseball. In 1988, I read 2 articles about baseball being started in the Soviet Union. One in Sports Illustrated called "The Russians Are Humming," and I was fascinated. And so I was playing baseball in college. Had a summer job. I was working at an ice cream factory in Lamar's, Iowa, Wells Blue Bunny. It's kind of world famous. Yeah. I'm told that Brahms is better. So but
for this podcast, yes.
Yeah. But Brahms is awesome. It's just it's considered the ice cream capital of the world. And I like Brahms. I like Wells Blue Bunny. But at the time, I was working at Wells Blue Bunny, and your mind wanders when you're putting small boxes into big boxes on the sugar cone machine at 3 a.m. I popped into my brain, I want to coach baseball in the Soviet Union.
Wow.
And no, there was no template. There was no rule book. There was no application process. And I just started calling people.
Yeah.
I went to my professors the next day, and they said, well, call the State Department. And you can just envision the people on the other side of the phone. They're like, "You want to do what?
You want to go to Russia?
Okay.
Why?
Well, the Soviet Union.
Soviet Union. Sorry, yeah.
But it came back to the line in the sand between Mexico and the United States, which is actually a river, not a line in the sand, but proverbial line in the sand.
Yeah.
Like between America and the Soviet Union. I'm like, they can't hate us that much.
Right.
That was a big part of that. They looked like us. Gorbachev looked incredibly like my father. And I was like, wow, they can't hate us that much. They not only like baseball, but they're going to try it. So the path there was the International Olympic Committee in 1986, in the fall of 1986, had instituted baseball as a gold medal sport in Olympics to be played in Barcelona for the first time. So a month later, the Soviet Union declared baseball an official sport in the Soviet Union. And at that point, that meant government funding, and that meant, they went from, I think it was a big deal. We went from 0 to 60 in a restaurant in 30 days. They went from 0 to 60 in a year to developing a nationwide league in the largest country in the world with 30 teams, kind of mimicking and mirroring and using the U.S., They're like, well, if that's where the best baseball is, or that's where the best baseball is played, because I don't want to get in trouble with the Dominicans and the Japanese, but if that's where the best baseball is played as a collective group, then that's our model. But they had an interesting model. They could also follow Cuba. They stretched the world. They're over by Japan, so they had a lot of options to follow and to emulate.
Yeah.
And none of this did I know at the time, but I started contacting people and a lot of closed doors, a lot of hang-up phone calls. I called USA Baseball, and they're like, you want... So you're a coach, right? I'm like, no, I'm just a player.
Yeah.
And it's just like being just a substitute teacher, right?
Yeah.
Just because you're just that person doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just kind of what you want to do. So I wanted to do it, and I kept reading through those articles again. I found a man named Richard Spooner, who was worked at the USSR Economic Trade Council in Moscow, a graduate of Yale, and he was the Johnny Appleseed of baseball. Next thing you know, I found his number somehow. There's no internet. Mind you, if you're younger than we are, there's no internet. There's no whitepages.com. There's no Googling how to do this.
It's not a contact us page on the website.
There's no AI telling you how to do this plan or write a white paper. It's like, no, I had wanted to do it, and I found Richard Spooner.
Yeah.
I started calling Moscow from my basement in Iowa. Like, hey, and he's like, okay, I'm interested. So a lot of times, the no's, you should never be dispelled by a no, because maybe you're not talking to the right person.
Right.
So I just, the guy that said yes happened to be the right person to put me in a position to go there. So a year and a half later, in 1990, and March 3rd, 1990 is my Russian birthday.
Yeah.
Because that's the day I landed in Moscow at Sheremetyevo Airport, and there's guys in fur hats and machine guns on the tarmac, and I'm like, we're not in Iowa, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
Or we're not in Oklahoma. It's a different world. People are amazing. I lived there. I was there for 6 months, and
do you have to learn the language, or did you get by speaking English?
No, I knew 10 words.
Yeah.
I was a bad Russian student in college. I took 2 courses at 2 different colleges. Obviously, as one of my professors told me, it's like, doesn't seem like you wanting to go there has been a big enough motivation for you to want to learn the language. And I'm like, I didn't think about that. I'm like, it's, just sitting in a lab in Sioux City, Iowa, sitting in a language lab in Sioux City, Iowa, with headphones on, and saying, "Ya hachu есть," I want food, I want to eat. Just, nobody's talking back to me. There's no face, right?
Yeah.
So I knew I had a good foundation of the alphabet, which is a phonetical language, so that's huge. And I knew 10 words when I showed up, and then 11, and then 12, and then so I had this.
Yeah.
I always had a notepad, and can you write that down? They're like, what? Who are you? Like, I'm American. I didn't understand that word. people,
Yeah.
you get past that first, like, is this guy crazy? Which that might have been the case, but it was like, oh, this guy wants to learn language.
Yeah.
So I think people not admire, not respect. It's endearing.
Yeah.
Like you want to be,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So I just made it a point, and I would ask for help a lot. And then our second baseman one day, he's like, do it yourself. And I'm like, okay. So that kind of, it's like the parents, like, okay,
Yeah.
we've helped you, now you do this yourself. And because it's a crutch. Asking for help is good, giving help is good, but when it's
All the time.
it's and they notice that, and then he's like, some, deal it. He's like, just do it yourself, deal with some. And I was like, all right. And from then on out, I would ask for help, but I try to figure it out a lot. So we were successful. We won the championship of the Soviet Union our first year there with the Moscow Red Devils. And then I went on to coach with the Soviet national team and European Championships Group B.
Wow.
And we won that, which advanced us to Group A. 91, which put us onto the qualifying path for the Olympics in 1992.
Yeah.
We didn't qualify, so Spain hosted. So they had an automatic qualifier, and then I think it was Holland that repped. Holland and Italy are two powerhouses, and still are today, but baseball's a lot better there. But,
Wow.
So and that was that embarked me on a 30-some year path of traveling to 27 different countries and seeing lots of people and lots of places, trying lots of pizza the world over. So and being in lots of baseball dugouts and games and post tournament celebrations that are very similar to Americans. They're happy. You're happy you won.
Yeah.
But that got me involved with more baseball. I was hired by the Angels to scout in the former Soviet Union.
Okay.
Did that for 5 years. Came back and coached baseball for 8 years in college, which brings us back to Eddie. Eddie calls me in 2004. He's like, hey, I what's going on? I was like, he knew I was coaching, and he's like, hey, I got my son. I don't know if he was 6 or 7 at the time. I got my son, Gray. He likes baseball. I don't know. I think, I was like, Eddie, you play baseball. You can help. He's like, no, I want. Like, he seeks out some specialists, it's just admirable, not wanting to always do it doing it yourself, but seeking out people that he thought could help better. And I see that in his kids a lot. He's got a great family, but so I helped his son Gray 6 or 7 and probably 5 or 6 times, and through the end of the season up into when they were going to start. And so fast forward now 20 years later, Gray's my boss. Gray is 26 or 27, and he works at the Chicken Shack, and he's my boss. And you never know who that 6-year-old might end up being your boss someday.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting trip, I started my own programs and been flexible to be able to travel and do things. And when Eddie asked me to come down, I said, this is one of 2 times a year I can do this, give it a shot and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So, back to the 0 to 60, we had to develop a good dough recipe, and our dough's made at the Oklahoma Academy in Hera, which is a Seventh-day Adventist boarding school. It's a Christian boarding school. They feed 70 every day in their kitchen, cafeteria. Margaret, you are amazing. Karen runs the school, and Margaret is the baker. She does a phenomenal job, and a lot of care and love in what they do. And but they have a standalone bakery, and they sell their baked goods, and they have a special diet, and we liked it. It bakes up great in our ovens.
Yeah.
We have aged ovens, we'll call them. Our ovens are about 25 years old, so they have some life and history in them. But so that was our dough, and on the pizza side of things, our sauce was told to me, like, nobody orders this sauce. I'm like, yes, we want this. But this is what 80%.
Because of Iowa.
This is what When they look at me, it's like, this is what 80% of Oklahoma City uses. I'm like, no, I'm not interested in that. I want what I want. If it doesn't work, then we'll try something else. But so, number one is you can't replicate perfection.
Yeah.
And Eddie and I and our whole town, it's one of, if not the favorite pizza place in our town.
Yeah.
You have 2 locations, one on one side of town, one on the other. They divide up the town for delivery, and like I said, they've been killing it since 1959. And why mess with that? So a lot of secrets in their industry that even though I worked there for that long, I don't know. I didn't know the dough recipe, so we had to develop our own.
Yeah.
With the Oklahoma Academy and Margaret, that, like I said, does phenomenal. And so a lot of things are very similar.
Yeah.
The look is similar, and our cheese process is pretty similar, but we use whole milk, low moisture block, like big block mozzarella, and we kind of turn it into kind of a string cheese or pelletize it a little bit, and that punches the flavor out. That's been a big thing. And then if you haven't seen us, so look for us on TikTok.
Yeah.
So we've invited foodies out and social media, personalities that highlight food, and I don't know, it's like 30% of our business now. People that saw us on TikTok, and they're coming from Tulsa.
Isn't that crazy?
I had a guy sit right here. He's from Tulsa. His friends are from Yukon. They had a birthday.
Yeah.
Where are they going to meet? He likes pizza.
Right in the middle.
And
almost.
I was like, so then every time somebody says they're from Tulsa, I was like, you just came here for the Pizza Shack. And we were going to go. I was like, no, just say yes. So they're going to Pops, or they're doing some event, or people went to Frontier City, but they find us, and it's a water cooler on steroids, on your phone. You can see anything.
Yeah.
And then I know you interviewed Chris from Dado's. It's a neat story because I congratulate. He won so we're open 8 months. So through all the testing, and we're making pizza, and we've gone through a couple different stages in the process.
Similar time, because they opened close to 22 as well, right? Or similar time.
They opened 6 months or a year before we did.
Yeah.
So, but we got named in the top 16 pizza places after being in Oklahoma City Metro, which is 1.5 million.
Yeah,
it's a huge area.
Yeah.
We got put into that group after being open for like 8 months.
Amazing.
I'm like, that's crazy. And somebody thought I had traded in favors, or like, no, I never met the lady that writes, Williams, Miss Williams. I'm like, I tried to contact her, and I never got a reply back. Not in a bad way, just like, it wasn't like I was like, hey, you got it. I would invite a lot of people out.
Yeah.
But I think friends of friends, people that knew, people on the deciding list, like, hey, this is good stuff, and we appreciate that. But so Chris won at Dado's. And I messaged him. I was like, hey, congratulations. And he goes, oh, this is Bob at the Pizza Shack, because we love your pizza. Yeah. So that's cool that the winner likes our pizza. But it becomes a small world in the restaurant area.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So let's dive into like you sort of mentioned a little bit about the pizza and the sauce being different, but dive into like what makes it so different, but also what makes it special to you, because it's what you grew up on.
So I grew up with this.
Yeah.
So a lot of there's a kind of a steady standard answer from Oklahomans when I ask them if they like our pizza. Like, hey, how do you like that? And like, well, it's unique. And I'm like, oh, unique. I'm like, so where I live 2 blocks from Jerry's Pizza.
Yeah.
There was a place called Bob Rose 6 blocks away. There's a place called Buffalo Alice about 3 miles away. I'm like, I was like, very distinct differences in the taste, but the same style. And I'm like, oh, we don't have anything like that down here. And I'm like, I don't know, and because we do some different things, we press our own meat, the cheese process I think it's unique. Our dough's made fresh, not frozen. We don't have any pre-baked frozen things in our refrigerator. So I have a lot of damage control to not have spoilage and the risk of things going bad. So we have to cycle through our foods pretty good. And the process is, like I said, you can't replicate perfection in the form of Jerry's Pizza. But I'm like, here's our version. This is the Pizza Shack's version. And it's affectionately known as Iowa Stone Pizza, because we're from Iowa and we bake on stone and we make pizza. Yeah. And that's about it. But So Greg Horton is, I think, one of the top food writers in the city of a very large metropolitan area of, like I said, 1.5 million. And he came out and had our pizza. And he's like, this is tavern style pizza. I'm like, yeah, it is. But we're 8 hours from Chicago, so we never called it tavern style pizza. But it is. Tavern style pizza is a Midwestern thing and started, I don't know, in the 30s, 40s, 50s with, like Mexican restaurants give out tortilla chips. A lot of bars would make thin crust pizza, not a lot of toppings, cut it up into squares, serve it to you, for free while you're drinking your beer waiting for your food. Chips or peanuts or tortilla chips at a Mexican restaurant, and I don't think they give away a lot like they used to, but that was kind of a sampling.
Okay.
But then it became a thing, and then, so Chicago's famous for deep dish, and that's a tourist must. But the locals, from what I understand, I'm not a Chicago local, but the locals, they like and eat the deep dish, but a lot of times their favorite is the thin crust. So tavern style thin crust pizza, made popular in the upper Midwest, it's a thing.
Yeah. And
it's so we have a dichotomy of, obviously we're in Oklahoma, a lot of Oklahoma customers, they like it, and we're in a unique area. I call it 5 miles from civilization. To get pizza in Edmond, you have to drive 5 miles. And then depending on the day, you have to drive another 5 miles in battle traffic. So if you can roll into Arcadia, but none of that demands a repeat customer. So repeat customers come from good products, good service, and the only complaint I want is bad pizza, because I can fix that.
Yeah.
I can get you a certificate. I can make you another one. I can. Maybe it's stuff that is too crispy. It's like, well, that's the style, but you can't fix bad attitude at the cash register. Yeah. That's one and done a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'm like that. Yeah. It's like, spending money, you don't have to,
right.
kiss my, what, but I like, like a little attentiveness.
Yeah.
So we strive for, no cell phones in the front room and take care of the customer, help them out to the car, and we serve in sacks, so you can't stack them. It takes a little extra effort. And so there's a customer training process, like, here's how we do it. It's like, why don't you have boxes? I'm like, well, this is how we do it. I think the taste is better. You get a cardboard box. It's got a taste to it. It's got a smell to it. The paper sack has none of that. So we like that. And for storage, I can store 2,000 sacks from my waist to the floor.
Yeah.
And boxes. It's nothing against boxes. That's America's way.
Space.
But that's how we did it back home, and I think that's also considered a unique thing here. But for us, for Eddie and I, it's not unique. This is just what we grew up with.
Yeah.
But when you come from another country, which we had a very high-profile customer come out, Andrew Black came out last year. But I didn't know who he was. Yeah. I arrived. I'm from somewhere else. I'm getting some kickback on some ideas that Eddie wants and I want. And Eddie, we didn't want to respond. I'm like, this works.
Right.
This works.
Yeah.
I saw it work. Yeah. I was in Pizza University for 34 years. I'm like, I watched this. Yeah. And you can't do that. You can't do that.
Why not?
You can't do that. Yeah. And so I'm watching TV one day, and a guy who I don't know was Andrew Black. Obviously, maybe if you don't know, you should Google him, but he's pretty famous.
One of the most famous chefs in Oklahoma City at the moment.
And in America. His name carries a big name in America. But I just saw him as somebody from somewhere else, bringing food here that doesn't exist here, and doing well, and got an award. Mm-hmm. That's all I knew about him. I emailed him. I invited him to the Pizza Shack. And that was it. I didn't hear from him. And a month and a half later, he calls. He goes, hey, Bob, this is Andrew Black. And I'm like, oh, that guy emailed. Yeah. And he came out. And he's like, I'm not a pizza guy, but I like your pizza. And he was with a friend who loves our pizza. She's a huge customer now. It's great. And, but I talked to him. And I was like, I just, I was struggling with this kickback. Because I'm from somewhere else, not from another country like he is, but I'm from somewhere else, trying to introduce something here that we know works where we came from because we saw it. Yeah. It's a pizza factory. It's amazing. They'll kick out 200 pizzas a night. It's just nonstop.
Yeah.
And And I asked him, he goes, you know what? He goes, I'm not going to quote him exactly, but he just talked about the Oklahoma people, it's a little tough getting in, but once you're in, they'll love you, and they'll protect you, and they'll help you. And I found that. And it's good. It's just, being studying political science and history, I'm fascinated by the land run, and then the tragedy of the Trail of Tears, and the mixing of all the different cultures here, and how you ended up here, and how you got here, and how the state was formed. And I think it's the old Wild West. There's a lot of challenges. You roll into town with your horse and buggy, and you want to set up shop, and then it's a competition. I think so that you can't do this wasn't invented for Bob Protexter. It was like, this is like, I just see that as a pathway of like, and that's America. They went from east to west, and you show up in these new towns, and then you got people coming from other countries from the Far East, and you're this out in California, but that mesh is like, show me, or you can't do this, or and it wasn't. I realize it's not an insult. It's a preface to, we haven't seen it before, and they say that as opposed, they don't say that, they say you can't do that. I'm like, I think we can, and we have. It's been pretty good. We've done increasingly better from week to week to week through the start of the summer, and that's when we've had this big push, through social media to try to have people come out, and you're all invited. Come on out. So, but we've invited people out. They've had a good time. We don't do anything a little more attentive. Just like to make sure. Do you want to try this? You want to try different? And they see how we treat other customers. Like try to, because I got one shot, right? Yeah. $20 is an investment. Yeah. $7 for a sandwich is not an investment. Like, I'll try that. So not only are you dropping $20, doesn't matter how much money you got. If you're dropping $20 and you're not feeding your sandwich, you're feeding the family a sandwich, right? Yeah. Better get it right. Yeah. So there's there's that. But the funny thing is the more people have come in, our first customers were only new, obviously, and then we started getting repeat customers.
Familiar faces.
Yeah, and then we started getting friends of repeat customers. And now, yesterday, guy ordered 15 pizzas for the OKC Gun Club. Yeah. Like, he likes our pizza. Yeah. But that's not an investment. That's a commitment to order 15 pizzas. Yeah. And we've had that. We've had some car dealerships that have ordered. Car dealerships, please give us a call. Yeah. Well, there's a lot out there. Yeah.
Close, too.
Yeah. And so we've had conversations with different places. But, you go from... and then some people will say, well, your pizza's kind of expensive. And I'm like, so here's my receipt from McDonald's. Yeah. Big Mac meal.
Have you seen the price of fries right now?
Big Mac meal at a cheeseburger, and it's $13. Yeah. Maybe not. Chick-fil-A. Love Chick-fil-A, right? Yeah. It's a spicy chicken sandwich, with and Whataburger with the jalapeno burger with the malt, and I think prices have gone up across the board, So I think we're in line, but that feeds one person. $13 feeds one person. Yeah. So if you get a pizza and a couple pops, it's the same to feed two. But usually our pizza's it's light, but it also has a filling, component to it. So it fills you up, and we have a lot of people take pizza home and they eat it the next day. And so pizza's a different thing though. And I don't want to say it's unlike any other food, but it's unlike any other food because there's all different styles. There's all different flavors. There is the contention that there's no bad pizza, because there's no bad pizza like there's no bad something else, but there's good pizza. Yeah. So there's no bad pizza, right? But there's good pizza, and then there's really good pizza, and there's better pizza, and there's great pizza, and we've had wonderful compliments. Yeah. It's better than the best pizza I've ever had, which is an awesome compliment. Is people like, this is the best pizza I've had in 25 years. Yeah. That's a different type of compliment. That's like, I know this taste, but I haven't had it for so long. Right. And Josh from Ohio is a customer. He's been looking for 4 years since he's been here from Ohio for something like this, and he found it. Eric the Viking from Minnesota. He's a good customer. He's been here 13 years, and he said, I finally found a place. So
That's
it's
good.
unique to the locals from the faraways. California people like our pizza. I'm not sure that, I think they think it reminds them of mom and pop shops from this. This is a mom and pop shop, and we're in a 1920s gas station.
Yeah, what did you think when you came here and saw this space? I mean, you must have thought this place was
No,
like...
I thought it was
it's-
awesome.
It is.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
We have old floors.
Yeah. You
You know-
don't have to build the character
No,
here. It's already
you know
here.
how many restaurants spend thousands of
Yes.
dollars to make their restaurant look old?
Yeah.
No, we have an old place.
Yeah.
So had a conversation recently with somebody that deals with this area of land. So this area of land is leased from the McClendon family or the state or the widow. I'm not sure the particulars, but they have overseers of the land, and this building was, that's credit.
Empty for a long
credit
time.
only to Eddie. Eddie
Yeah.
said, "Don't tear the building down."
Yeah.
Because it has a hood, it has a kitchen, and kitchens are not cheap, and he wanted pizza, and so it's an idea. He's tried a lot of things, and he'll self-admit they don't all work, but you can't get stuff to work unless you try a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, this work, the Chicken Shack, they have 200 tables, they have live music every night. It's phenomenal. So he's always trying something new.
Yeah.
And it's easy to sit on the sidelines. Well, that's, why do you do that? Or that's not right. Or, but he's not on the sidelines. He's like in the middle of it, like the linebacker is.
Yeah.
And you don't make all the tackles, so hopefully this was a good tackle for him.
I think so. It seems to be going really well.
He appreciated my work. He was really respectful of my time when I came down here. He goes, can you come down for like 2 or 3 days and, kind of see what it looks like to get us started? I'm like, look, Eddie, 2 or 3 days, there's not too much damage I can do in 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Because we're still tweaking things.
Yeah, as you will. You'll improve as you'll see things that'll always change, or you'll improve things as you go along and add things. I mean, whatever it is, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah. So we have, the map here of Route 66 painted by James and Lisa from Luther Hardware, and their 6-year-old Declan, who also has
That's brilliant.
the thing up there. But we just wanted people to have the attraction of being here.
Yeah.
Because if you live here, it's like, well, it's Route 66, But if you're from Spain, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
John's place up the road, they people like, it's like Spain. It's like a must-go-to place.
Yeah.
So we put our sign up. I don't know if you saw the sign.
Yeah,
the Los Angeles, Chicago sign.
I want to hear you tell stories about that, because when we first started talking, I think you just finished it.
So, there's a rumor that I've spent a night or two here at the Pizza Shack. When you open a restaurant, you're here all day, right? And the drive home and the drive back in the morning is a tough one. So there was a few times that I just didn't leave, and I'd wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock. I'd get coffee from the lake stop. I'd sit in the front, and I would watch people take pictures of a 15-foot water tower that's at Arcadia, Oklahoma, like stopping, like slowing down, stopping, getting out, taking a selfie of a Route 66 Arcadia, Oklahoma water tower. Like, well, we have something, right?
Yeah.
So the idea was from last August. I mean, we had opened a month, and I was like, we have to locate ourselves. You have to identify yourselves. We're not in Quebec. I can't. You can't put a maple leaf. I don't know where that came from, but you have to tell people where you're at, even though it's obvious.
Yeah.
So without telling people where we're at, we made it very obvious that and it doesn't say it does say Route 66, but it made it very obvious that we are 1,369 miles to Santa Monica Pier. We listed it as Los Angeles because that's in the songs, that's in the movies, that's the sexy part. But the end of the trail is Santa Monica Pier, right on the water. And on the other side is the mileage to Chicago, to the begin sign, which literally, if you're not a Route 66 savant or aficionado, there's a sign that says Historic Route 66 begin. It's on a street corner.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no fanfare, it's just a sign. But people will take a picture of the sign. And so it's 778 miles to the begin sign in Chicago. And I was like, oh, this is probably one of these every 20 miles. And we had people, I just wanted one person to stop and take a picture, just to validate, it's a kind of a neat idea. And I just thought it'd be cool. You know, a lot of times, you know, there was no focus group. There was no polling. I was like, no, you know, Eddie does a lot of that. I watch it. He tries this, he tries that. And so I tried it. I was like, you know, I just wanted one person to stop, like to make me feel good that actually it's cool. Yeah. And the next day I got a guy out there with a handheld, you know, with the video, and he's from Romania. He's a YouTuber. He's got like 100,000 views or 100,000 followers on YouTube. He and his wife, they travel the world. And then I always ask, which way are you going? He goes, oh, we're going from Los Angeles to Chicago. And we stopped, we saw the sign, you know? So now in Romania, people are watching this.
Yeah.
And then, so if I'm here, the temptation is just sit there all day and see who stops. But that's the day that nobody's going to stop. But when I'm walking in and walking out, I see people out there, I go talk to them.
Yeah.
And guess where they're from? They're from England.
All over.
There's a doctor from Spain driving on a motorcycle, rented a motorcycle in Chicago, went to LA by himself. He stopped because he saw the sign. He wanted to take a picture. You know, it's got Los Angeles. So it tells you where you're at.
Yeah.
Where you're at in life. You know, you're on Route 66, and if I go that way, I got 1,300 and some miles. If I go that way, I got 700 and some miles. But 3 guys from Switzerland. Yeah. They flew to Milwaukee, toured Harley Davidson. They rented bikes, got to Chicago, and they went to LA, and they stopped.
That's the beauty of the road, though, isn't it? Like, you know, and they're just fortunate to have a spot on it. And like you said, you put out that sign, and everyone wants to take a picture, everyone wants to post a selfie or whatever. But it's, you know, the sign draws them in. But the melting pot, back to what you said about Oklahoma too, is the melting pot of people that are coming through here and those stories, right? And the people you've got to meet because of all of that. Yeah. Regardless if the restaurant's open or not, you know, they're going to remember that sign. And it's like I said, you're posting to people in their country, and if they come out, they're gonna, you know, friends, and it's brilliant. I love it.
Well, I don't know about the brilliant part. It was just something fun you don't want to try, right? Yeah. And you never know. But so there's not even a Pizza Shack sign on. I'm getting some hard times. Like, it's not even a Pizza Shack sign. Like, we're not doing it to sell pizza. Right. We're just like, this is it, and people are gonna stop, you know, and it's Pizza Shack signs in the background, but a lot of cool pictures. So you got the round barn in the background. Yeah. So.
And you're in a great spot. Arcadia is like obviously a really historic spot with, you know, has Pops, has the round barn. You know, it's.
So you have a town of 171 people. Yeah. It has a world famous gas station. Yeah. You know, and Pops. Yeah. It's got a world famous barn. Right. I don't know that we're anywhere near being world famous for our pizza, but we have.
You're in a good spot.
Yeah. But then you got the world famous Chicken Shack with the largest restaurant in a state that's known for large things. You know, Oklahoma City was the second largest landmass city. Yeah. So there's an expansionist view, you know. But you have the constraints of being within your own border of Oklahoma. So and I think that goes back to you can't do this. Like, people ran here and got here, and there's always a challenge out in front of them. Yeah. So that part of your culture doesn't go away because time went away. Yeah. You know, that sticks. Yeah. So I'm from Iowa. You know, you got the richest guy in the bar has got the worst truck in the parking lot. Yeah. You know, it's just like, you know, you're a little frugal because 3 years of great farming can be destroyed in 1 year of bad weather. So you got a lot of stoic people that are dependent, go to church to pray for good weather. They're dependent on good weather. Yeah. And when they struggled this year in Iowa because of the floods, so that's our deal. That's your background. You know, we don't live on the beach in New Jersey or, you know, in Southern California where your hair's a little blonder, you're a little longer, and you go surfing. It's just, you live where you live, and the culture grows out of that. And I think it's a huge attraction for. So we've had people from Belgium, from Germany, from England, from Russia, another one from Russia, another one from England, Switzerland. These are the people I randomly meet when I'm here. This isn't like me standing here all day. Right. You know, this is like just passersby. Yeah.
Do you have a world map in here where people put their pin on?
No, we're working on that. I found this, you know, map at an undisclosed location because they probably don't want to know where I got it, but it shows all the different road signs, and people are, you know, just fascinated looking at that. But travel and mobility in America, and travel is a big deal. Yeah, it is. You know, and you get on the road, the open road. Yeah. Walt Whitman, the open road, you know, and what does he say? I myself am good fortune. So you get on the road and you just travel and you see things, and you know, that sign was a lot cheaper than making a 40-foot chicken.
Yeah.
You know,
you're
because
right.
that's what
Probably
that's
nobody would have stopped to take a picture
no,
of 40
well,
foot chicken.
they would stop. But Route 66 is known for, like, you know,
A lot of
space, 40-foot, you know. But people wanted people to stop.
Yeah.
You know, you can have good chicken and good pizza, but, you know, there's you got to hook them some way. You know, like, not as a tourist, just like so like attendance-wise, you're always looking for butts in the seats.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the baseball game. How do we get butts in the seats? Do we have good baseball? Well, good baseball works. Do we have? So then it goes back to the that you can fix bad baseball. You just turn it into good baseball. But do you have good concessions? Do you have a good map for parking? Do you have, you know? There's a lot of things that people invest money in stuff.
In a brand, right?
In a brand and stuff. But what do they get back? You know, and do they? Is it an enjoyable day? So the biggest thing, I don't know the takeaway of all this, I talked for a long time, but the biggest way is we want you to have a good day.
Yeah, come on out.
When you show up to the Chicken Shack and you sit there for 4 hours, you know, and order food, I mean, you're in front of a fire pit with live music.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good day.
It doesn't feel like you've been there 4 hours either. You just come hang out.
You know, Red Lobster is great, but I don't know if people go to Red Lobster for 4 hours.
No, and more back to what you said earlier, it feels like home. Right, it's very homey feeling.
Well,
the same kind of feeling.
I haven't been here long enough to know I have to have more conversations with Greg Horton. He's a philosopher, you know.
Yeah.
But I think if you're in Oklahoma, you're country somehow.
Yeah.
You know, because people love living in the country here.
Uh-huh.
There's I think every family by birthright you have to have a truck. And so there's lots of trucks, there's lots of horses.
Yeah.
But if you live in Oklahoma City, I think this is your opportunity to get in the country a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
You know, spend a day in the country. You know, and it's just, you know, people come out here in groups of 20 and they mingle around for hours, and it's unique.
It's awesome.
You know, and it's not easy. I watch the work that people put in, you know, because before people show up, there's lots of stuff to do. You know, so basically so the Chicken Shack hosts a house party every day.
Yeah.
For anywhere from 5 to 1,000 people, 500 to 1,000 people. Like, who does that?
Right.
You know, and it's not a drive-through.
No, it's
you know, you're having
spot.
them in. So you got to clean your house every day. They're going to show up, and they go home, and then you got to get ready for the next day.
Yeah.
So our level of that is a little different. We seat 20.
Yeah.
You know, but the pizza business normally and that type is a little different. You know, we get a lot of to-goes. But I think our place here we're the local pizzeria.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's you know, I can't wait to see it when it's rocking. It's full of people. Fortunately, now we opened up early to sit in here and do this.
I appreciate you know,
that.
I appreciate you taking your time out of your day. So you're a guy from somewhere else that came here. And I'm sure it's stuff that you talked about. It's like, well, you can't do that. You know, this doesn't work that way here. But and you're like, well, I saw it where I came from. It does work, but you probably experienced that.
Yeah, fish and chips.
Fish and chips
is terrible. No one does it well like they do back home.
No, it's right? Nothing's like home, right?
Nothing is like
nothing's
home.
like home.
Yeah.
So this is the new home for the local pizzeria, right?
Yeah.
But nothing's like home. So but the people that come in here from Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and Ohio, and a little bit from Missouri, and I guess it even stretches into Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So we do approved videos.
Yeah.
So I have we post on our Instagram like Ohio approved or Minnesota approved.
Right.
You know, but they tell me why. They say, well, we've been down here for 4 years. We've been down here for 13 years.
Yeah.
This is the first time we found a. And then they go into their childhood of, well, we went to this place and it tastes like this and it looked like this and it was old school and
yeah.
So yeah, and
Brilliant.
we didn't fake up the old school. I mean, this is an old place. It's a 1920s gas station, and it's a
great spot.
It's real.
Yeah. So for people listening, let's bring this one home. For people listening, come on out. You tell me your opening hours and days that you're open, and also you know, social media stuff. People can go to that as well.
So currently, our hours are semi-limited. You know, one of the benefits of going to the Chicken Shack is you can order from your waitress or wait staff pizza. You can pick up here. You can take it home. We're working on a delivery option possibly, and we're working on more hours. But currently, as of today, the end of August. Excuse me. Currently, as of today, the end of August, you know, our hours are 4 to 9, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. and on Saturday 11 to 9.
Okay. Brilliant.
And yes, as trying to make it good and simple as we go. So as we go, hopefully down the road there will be some delivery options. There will be some, call us for your big party options and expanded hours options, especially for Route 66. Because people don't choose to drive Route 66 based on our hours. They're coming through all day. So I think we'll expand our hours. And I think the primary goal was to have good pizza and do it right, and don't get too far out in front of yourself. And so we've been doing better and better every day, every week, every month. And now we're shooting for Dados. So.
Brilliant. Yes. Chris, coming for you.
Chris,
Love
yes.
that. Love that. Well, mate, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
All right.
For people listening, I'll post a link to the social medias and the hours as well in the description. And come on out. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And
our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other.
This episode is brought to you by the Oklahoma State Treasurer Unclaimed Property Division. Oklahoma has more than $1 billion of unclaimed property. Reclaim what's rightfully yours. Visit YourMoney.ok.gov and enter your name to find out if you have lost money from utility deposits, uncashed checks, life insurance policies, or more. If you've got a minute, search for free and visit YourMoney.ok.gov.
Dust the red dirt off your boots and get all your rowdy friends together. Born and Raised Music Festival is back for one hell of a weekend. September 13th through 15th, 2024 in Pryor, Oklahoma. Featuring Cody Johnson,
You got a chance, take
Hank Williams Jr.,
all my rowdy friends are coming over tonight.
Cole Wetzel, plus Midland, Dwight Yoakam, the Red Clay Strays, and many more. Weekend, single day, and camping passes on sale now at bornandraisedfestival.com.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.